Kevin told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on. And what did he say after he wore it? I made my own decision, duh. But you didn't make it before they brought it up, did you?
Just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close, but it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No, I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed.
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother.
So there's been some buzz lately about Kevin Hart and Diddy's relationship. And let me tell you, it's not the kind of gossip you'd want to miss. These two have been tight for years, right? But now there's talk that maybe their friendship isn't as straightforward as we thought. Some whispers are swirling around suggesting that Kevin might be more than just a buddy to Diddy. Some are even saying he's Diddy's handler. You see, people are starting to wonder if being in Diddy's inner circle means you're either in on all his shady dealings or, well, you're intimately involved with him. And with all the wild stories circulating about Diddy, it's hard not to raise an eyebrow at Kevin's closeness to him. Now, there's this video making the rounds online showing Diddy and Kevin hanging out, and let's just say the vibe is off. It's got folks second-guessing their whole dynamic.
Just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close, but it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No, I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed.
But it gets juicier when Usher pops up in the video too, and Diddy almost drops this line about them possibly sharing a bet at some point. Cue the raised eyebrows and the memories of those old rumors about Diddy supposedly G-wording Usher.
That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, damn, pause, but like, just back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother.
In case it slipped your mind, back in the 90s, Diddy ran this thing called Puffy Flavor Camp. It was basically a deal for young, up-and-coming stars to get some mentorship from him. And the stories these celebs spill about their time in Puffy Flavor Camp are jaw-dropping. One of the kids who got a taste of this flavor camp was Usher. Usher was set to be an R&B sensation from a super young age. He spilled the beans in 2016, telling Howard that he really got a grip on what being famous meant after spending a year living with Puff Daddy when he was just 14. I got a chance to see some things. I went there to see the lifestyle and I saw it, Usher said during his first Stern Show interview.
We're sending you over to something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
To learn
Flavor Camp.
Yeah,
Flavor
that's
Camp.
what it was called. And you're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
In the 90s, do you understand what that's like? But hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at.
So Usher's one-of-a-kind learning experience known as Puffy Flavor Camp happened because a young Usher wowed music bigwig L.A. Reid with his musical skills. Next thing you know, he's jetting off to New York to crash with Puffy during the golden era of Bad Boy Records, all in the name of getting the real deal scoop on making it big in the music scene. It was pretty wild. It was crazy, Usher said, while rattling off some of the biggest names in hip-hop who were a constant presence at Puffy's house, including Notorious Big, Lil' Kim, Faith Evans, Mary J. Blige, and Craig Mack. I was like the little brother. They called me Baby Boo, Usher spilled. But Howard was curious if there were any ground rules for him since, he was just a kid. He wasn't disciplinary. He was letting me be a young man, Usher shared with Howard. Even though he wasn't hitting the books in a regular school, they had a tutor around. And about that cash flow, Usher said he got a per diem, but just enough to keep him out of too much mischief. When asked if he'd send his kids to Diddy's camp, he was like, hell no. So you can imagine just how messy things must have been.
What a life.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
14 years old. You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
And speaking of Kevin, well, it seems like his funny man persona might be covering up a darker side. There's this old video resurfacing where he's seen going off on his trainer, and his wife and friends are just standing there, doing nothing. It's not until things start getting physical that they finally step in.
If everything stopped today, can you survive? Yes. You're a liar.
What the you talking about?
Do you have a home?
I make more money on training.
Do you have a home?
What you talking about?
Do you have a home?
You stand the down, man. You out of line, man. You out of line, bro. You out of line, man. You out of line, bro. I don't
Also, there's been whispers in the wind about how Kevin climbed his way to the top, from cozying up to the big shots in the industry, maybe even stepping on some toes to get ahead. And then there are even these whispers about some seriously questionable stuff he might have been involved in. Also, take what Cat Williams said, for example. On the Club Shay Shay podcast, Cat straight up called Kevin an industry plant. He pointed out how quickly Kevin rose to fame, scoring a sitcom and starring in Soul Plane, all within his first year in LA. According to Cat, this raises eyebrows and makes Kevin's early history seem a bit like a mystery. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA, and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person, or since that person, he continued saying. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definition of these words.
Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? What do you think a plant is?
For those of you who don't know about the ongoing showdown between Cat Williams and Kevin Hart, you might recall that the beef traces back to the 2008 film Fool's Gold. Williams was initially set to take the lead, but his legal issues at the time forced him to pass on the gig, which involved filming down under in Australia. Enter Kevin Hart, who swooped in and snagged the role instead. According to the grapevine, that's where the sparks of tension between Williams and Hart first ignited. Cat voiced his worries about letting folks who might not be straight up truthful spin their own tales without any checks. He talked about how messed up it is that the liars out there got all the goods and resources, leaving the rest of us playing catch up. And he isn't buying into the idea that having all those resources means you're automatically speaking the truth. According to Cat, it's a real concern letting these shady characters run wild with their own narratives, especially when they're sitting on a mountain of resources. But Cat isn't blind to the fact that speaking out might land him in hot water. He knows folks might see him as just another bitter, jealous comedian behind his back. When asked if he feared any backlash, Williams responded, "Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people. That's why, you know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is to act like it didn't happen." The whole Kevin Hart is an industry plant theory goes back to a Hollywood rumor that's been circulating for quite a while. There's this talk that entertainers are kind of blackmailed into wearing a dress on screen, almost like a rite of passage before they can level up in the fame game. And it's not just Cat Williams who's been talking about this, even Dave Chappelle has touched on it. In 2006, during an appearance on OPR, Dave spilled the tea about why he turned down a whopping $50 million deal from Comedy Central. He wasn't in it just for the money because, as he explained, big bucks often come with some serious strings attached. Dave, being in the showbiz game since he was 14, had seen and heard stories about what happens behind the scenes. He pointed out examples like Mariah Carey landing a $100 million deal only to end up mysteriously labeled as crazy a few months later, or Martin Lawrence making it big and then suddenly waving a on the streets, screaming about someone trying to him. It's those stories that had Dave cautious. When OPR asked him about hearing these stories, Dave laid it out. He'd seen it happen before, and it always went down when a person's career was on the brink of reaching the next level. According to Dave, he was pressured to create sketches that made people laugh at him, not with him. It felt like they were asking him to put himself on blast for a paycheck. Dave Chappelle even recalled being asked to wear a dress for a movie he did with Martin Lawrence. He walks into the trailer and sees a dress, thinking it's the wrong one. Turns out it's for a scene where Martin's character sneaks out of jail by dressing Chappelle as a Chappelle's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. It wasn't in the discussion." They try to pressure him, saying it's a hilarious bit, but he stands his ground, saying he doesn't need a dress to be funny. The whole thing gets intense with writers, directors, and producers pushing, but Chappelle sticks to his. In the end, they come up with a new scene without the dress, and he's left wondering, how did you write that so fast?
That's like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, wow, these brothers gotta wear a dress. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer, I'm like, man, this must be the wrong trailer because there's a dress in here.
Dave just didn't vibe with it. Not because wearing a dress is an issue on its own, but because he felt the industry was trying to corner black artists into doing whatever it took for success. They kept hounding him until they figured out he wouldn't budge. Dave revealed this whole experience was an eye-opener. It took being told to wear a dress for him to connect the dots and realize this wasn't just his struggle. Lots of other black men had been asked to do the same. Martin Lawrence rocked it in Big Mama's House, Eddie Murphy pulled it off in the Nutty Professor series, and Jamie Foxx left a mark mark with his unforgettable Ugly Wanda on In Living Color. Then you've got the Wayans brothers trying their hand at it with White Chicks. Oh, and we can't forget the less successful Juana Man in the mix of all this. Tyler Perry takes the cake with his Medea franchise. During this time, an upcoming Kevin would join the conversation, dropping wisdom talks left and right. Kevin was all about artists protecting their brand, setting boundaries, and not crossing certain lines. At that point, he was vibing with his personal beliefs. No dress drama in sight. When the topic of wearing a dress for a role came up, Kevin was straight up like, nah, haven't faced that dress dilemma. Gotta know your boundaries and protect your brand. He was all about steering clear of anything that could compromise his image. Kevin even mentioned turning down a request to dribble a basketball on a talk show because it would make him look foolish. It's all about protecting the brand.
Definitely haven't ran into to put on the dress. I mean, you know, you have to have boundaries. You have to have limits that you refuse to cross.
But here's where it gets interesting. Just a year later, boom, Kevin's on an SNL skit rocking a dress.
His 9-year-old Oscar nominee, Kevin.
Fans were not having it. Accusations of selling out and being fake started flying around. It was like, hold up, wasn't you just preaching about boundaries and protecting your brand, Kevin? The plot twist got fans feeling some type of way, and they called him out for doing the exact thing he said artists shouldn't do. But then, Kevin Hart pulled a complete 180 on us, flipping the script from his earlier stance on wearing dresses. He initially said, "No way, I'm not putting on a dress." Fast forward to when the opportunity knocked and he found the whole idea funny. Suddenly, he was like, why not? I'm doing it. But here's where it gets tricky. Kevin, in defense mode, starts saying nobody forced Martin Lawrence into Big Mama's house, or Tyler Perry into Medea, or Jamie Foxx into Wanda's dress. It was a choice, according to Kevin.
Actually, I was actually one of those comedians that said, no, I wouldn't wear a dress. There's no way I would wear a dress. And then when proposed with the opportunity of what I felt was funny, I said, oh, that's funny, I'm gonna do it. It's all about choice. You know, nobody makes you do anything. Right. Nobody says this is what you got to do. It's the only way that you're gonna do it.
He's hitting us with the "it's all about choice" narrative. But then there's this counter-argument floating around. People are saying it's not just a matter of choice. Kevin himself wasn't okay with the idea before the money talks began. When the cash starts rolling in, suddenly integrity takes a back seat. It's like money becomes this magical thing that makes people do stuff they swore they'd never do. And truth be told, when that paycheck comes into the picture, folks tend to reveal their true colors. Remember when Steve Harvey dropped that bomb about integrity? He straight up said, give me $10 million and I'll embarrass myself all the way to the bank. He was willing to throw his integrity out the window for a hefty paycheck. It's a harsh reality, but hey, he put it out there.
10 million for 4 million. Black people will be so embarrassed by my performance. You sitting up there just going, look at this big lip son of a.
Now back to Kevin Hart. After he did the dress thing, his career went through the roof. He became the highest paid comedian ever, raking in cash like no one else. It's like the dress move was the golden ticket to success in the comedy game. People might argue about the sacrifice of integrity, but at the end of the day, Kevin's laughing all the way to the bank. And then there's Monique, dropping bombs about how Kevin supposedly ditched her when she was going through some real rough times, facing the heat from big names like Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. And if that isn't enough to raise your eyebrows, there's talk that Kevin's been cozying up to both Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey to climb the Hollywood ladder. Back in 2021, there was this memorable episode on Kevin Hart's Comedy Goldmines podcast where he had the legendary Monique as his guest. They delved deep into Monique's life, her rise in the comedy scene, and where she stands today in her career. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Monique has had some long-standing issues with Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. And trust me, we'll get into that later, so hang tight. During their conversation, Monique opened up about the struggles her family faced, describing it as being up against the wall. It was then that Kevin Hart, being the stand-up guy he is, stepped in to offer his support. He expressed to Monique that she's like family to him, a mother, an aunt, a sister rolled into one. And Hart didn't just stop at comforting words, he took action. Now, Hart admitted he didn't really know Oprah Winfrey personally, but he promised Monique that he'd reach out to Tyler Perry, and he did just that. After a heartfelt conversation with Perry, Hart came back to Monique with some promises promising news. Perry was ready to bury the hatchet and move past the drama. Hart, being the voice of reason, urged Monique to do the same. He told her, "Let's leave all that negativity in the rearview mirror, Mo. We've got bigger things to accomplish together." But Hart's generosity didn't stop there. In a conversation with Shannon Sharp, Monique revealed that Hart not only offered emotional support, but also extended a professional hand. He proposed to partner with her and even offered to executive produce any project she wanted to bring to life. Monique recounted Hart's words, saying, "Mo, I talked to Tyler. He said he didn't want to revisit it. But I'll tell you what, let's move past that, Mo. Let's just do great things together. Don't even worry about it. Whatever you want to do, I will partner with you. I'll executive produce with you. You just let me know."
I want you to hear me, Kevin Hart. Let's move past that, Mo. Let's do some great things together. Don't even worry about it. Whatever y'all want to do, I will partner with you. I'll executive produce with you. You just let me know what you want to do.
She also spilled the beans about how Kevin came through big time, lending her a hefty sum of cash. And get this, she even returned it with interest. But here's where it gets juicy. After Hart promised to help her get her talk show back on track, naturally Monique was stoked. And who wouldn't be? Having Kevin Hart as a producer could skyrocket any project. So she excitedly tells her producers and Endemol, her media production company, and they're all on board, thrilled at the prospect of working with such a big star. But plot twist, 2 weeks later, Monique gets hit with some devastating news. Endemol drops the bombshell that Kevin Hart's manager, Dave Becky, gave them a ring to say that Kevin had cold feet. Monique picks up the phone, hoping for an explanation from Hart himself. And what does she get? A vague reassurance. "We'll talk Tuesday. Don't worry about it," he says.
And we're going to talk Tuesday. Don't worry about it. I'm telling you right now, it's a miscommunication. That was 2 years ago. If you talk to him, I talk to him. I've never talked back to Kevin Hart again.
Fast forward 2 years and crickets. Monique hasn't heard a peep from Kevin since. But hold up, here come the armchair detectives. Some fans are crying foul, suggesting that maybe Kevin never intended to help Monique in the first place. They're pointing to his sketchy track record, like that time he claimed he didn't really know OPR Winfrey. I mean, come on, who could forget the whole OPR sending him flowers ordeal after his accident in 2019? In a chat with Ellen, they got into it, with Ellen explaining how she reached out to Kevin after hearing about his accident and back surgery. Kevin shared that he received plenty of flowers from well-wishers, but it was OPR floral gift that stood out. According to Kevin, OPR flowers are like a never-ending story. They're still thriving, turning his place into a botanical paradise. It's become a joke in his house, with everyone wondering when OPR flowers will finally call it quits. Kevin even joked about someone secretly watering them because, despite neglect, they just won't die. The flowers are so significant that they've taken over the dining table, leaving the Harts eating on the floor rather than disturb OPR cherished plant. And now, he's claiming he doesn't really know her? Seems fishy, right? And then there's the wild rumor mill spinning tales about Kevin selling his soul to the likes of OPR and Tyler Perry. Supposedly, if he had lifted a finger to help Monique revive her career, it would have put his own career in jeopardy. Now, let's circle back to her previous with OPR Winfrey and Tyler Perry. This drama started way back in 2009 when Monique starred in Precious, a movie produced by OPR and Tyler Perry, and directed by Lee Daniels. The real kicked off when OPR and Tyler decided Monique should hit the press circuit for the film without any paycheck. Monique wasn't having it and straight up said, "Nah, not in my contract." According to Monique, she only got a measly $50K for the whole movie, which was barely enough. Now they wanted her to jet around the world promoting the film for free, not on Monique's watch. But OPR and Tyler didn't take her refusal well at all. Instead, they started trashing her reputation in the industry, spinning a narrative about her being difficult to work with. Monique spilled the tea, saying Tyler Perry told her, "You may want to consider promoting this film because if you get nominated for an Oscar, your next film is $3 to $5 million. And if you win it, your next film is $6 to $8 million. Monique was like, "Hold up, I'm a black woman. Where are they paying those salaries, brother?" She straight up told Tyler, "I can't work for free. I've done what I was supposed to do. I can't go overseas and do this for free." Their back and forth continued, with Tyler saying he doesn't believe in giving money away for free, and Monique firing back, "I don't believe in working for free. So we on the same page?" It's a classic case of clash in values, and Monique wasn't backing down.
He says, "Well, I don't believe in giving money away for free." I said, "I don't believe in working for free, so we on the same page."
She also claimed Tyler Perry allegedly went the extra mile to mess with her acting gigs. According to Monique, it all went down after she turned down a request to fly to France for the Cannes Film Festival, tied to promoting the movie Precious. So, check it. The movie studio initially asked her to jet off to France, but Monique, with her busy schedule as a talk show host, comedian, and family woman, respectfully declined. They tried to sweeten the deal by offering to upgrade her hotel room, but she and her husband stuck to their saying, "Nah, we're gonna spend this time with our family." She said, "OPR, I'm doing a talk show, I'm doing a comedy tour. I have a husband and I have babies. I have a little bit of downtime and I'm going to take advantage of it. So I'm not going anywhere because I'm not obligated to go anywhere. I've done my part." So we mutually agreed to disagree. That was it. Next thing I know, I am considered difficult and hard to work with when the third call came and they asked, "What's it gonna take to get Monique to France?" Her husband straight up asked, "Is there a number associated with it?" That's when they dropped the bomb that they would never pay for anyone to do promotions for a movie. Monique revealed she was paid a mere $50,000 for Precious, and it wasn't about the money. She signed up to do it with her friend. The interviewer dug in, suggesting she needed the money to feed her family and pay bills, and Monique responded, "I think that's what America says. We all say, I can't do it for free." She explained that when the movie studio refused to pay for her canned appearance, they didn't make a fuss. But then the reports started flying, painting Monique as demanding and difficult. The whole thing boiled down to a simple request that they understood couldn't be met. But suddenly, Monique found herself labeled, and that's where the drama kicked in.
Because what people didn't know was I was paid $50,000 to do the movie Precious. And it really wasn't about the money, and I'm not complaining because I signed up to do it with my friend. It says we can't set a precedence and pay you to do this. We didn't have an issue with them.
Okay.
But that's when the reports came that now Monique is being demanding and she's being difficult.
Now then things really hit the fan for Kevin when rumors started swirling that he had been unfaithful to his ex-wife, Torrei Hart, with his current wife, Eniko Hart. Torrei and Kevin Hart called it quits back in 2011 after 8 years of marriage. Torrei was the one who dropped the divorce bomb, catching Kevin red-handed in the act of cheating with multiple women. And it wasn't just a one-time slip. Rumor has it that Eniko, Kevin's current wife, might have been one of those mistresses when he was still hitched to Torrei. In an emotional recount, Torrei spilled the beans about her dreams of being a power couple with Kevin, shattered by the harsh reality of divorce. She admitted feeling angry, not just because she doesn't believe in divorce, but also because she had to see Kevin everywhere, from billboards to Hollywood events.
Me and Kevin were going to have that. In my mind, we were supposed to be the power couple. Angry at that enough, then I felt like a failure. That I have to see him everywhere.
Here's the real kicker. Torrei wasn't just his wife. She was also putting in work behind the scenes, writing jokes for Kevin's movies and stand-up shows. The messed up part? Kevin never gave her credit for her comedic genius. And to add insult to injury, he allegedly spent the money he made from those jokes on his mistresses. Even after Kevin cheated on Torrei, he had the audacity to crack jokes about it during his stand-up shows. Imagine being the person who stood by him when he had nothing, contributed to his success, and then getting clowned on stage.
Lying will ruin your goddamn life. Lying ruined my marriage. True shit, sweetie. Lying ruined my goddamn marriage.
Even though Kevin has fired back at the rumors circulating about him, shrugging them off like they're no big deal, it's likely that they've still tainted people's perception of him. What's your opinion on this whole situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.